see
over
and
and
that's
over
the Pokemon hatred I'm trying to get out of this. Is that it doesn't matter. Like it's like a foreign language. When Pika goes Pika Pika,
Squirtle,
like that.
Squirtle, 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 Squirtle,
No,
Squirtle,
see
like
that's
Squirtle,
and you've
Squirtle.
lost the point, Jason. It's not Squirtle. It's Squirtle, 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 Squirtle. Like there's like a lot of character in the way Squirtle speaks. You've lost it. You don't understand Pokemon. Go
No, I
back to
understand that
your little
the
mangas
Squirtle with
and
the
where you can just
sun.
make
Yeah,
up whatever sound they make in your own head, Jason. God damn.
yes.
Pokemon is a very interesting franchise because, to me, stay with me on this. Pokemon's a lot like the Bible. Everyone has their own personal relationship with the franchise of Pokemon because going back to the 90s, the original Pokemon was a video game in Japan, and then it became a manga series, a trading card, a very popular trading card series, the cartoon show in America, the Red and Blue in America from the video games of the Game Boy, and it became a gigantic monster of a franchise. And then eventually it kind of simmered down a bit, and then Pokemon Go came out in 2016, and that reignited the franchise, and Pokemon's as big as it's ever been. It's crazy how popular it is, considering when I was a little child, it was just the flavor of the week as far as popularity goes. But back to my original point, Pokemon is how you determine what your favorite Pokemon is or how you like which Pokemon depends on how you've taken in the franchise. So for me, the original Japanese video game would be like the Torah, like the Jewish Bible. It's like the original, like that's kind of what it's based on. And then the Red and Blue Pokemon video games of the Game Boy is like the King James version, like more popular, more widespread throughout the world. That's what more people took in. And then the Pokemon show, the cartoon show, is like the New Testament. Like that took it to a whole nother level, and it's like set people on fire for Pokemon Jesus. And then you get to like, what's the best Pokemon? Clearly, the first generation one is the best Pokemon you ever got. And then it's slowly gone downhill after that. I would say that like generation 3 and 4 and so on and so forth, that's like when you get to like, no offense, like Mormonism. And then like whatever the latest generation is like Scientology. So like, no offense, Tom. I know you're a big fan. I love your work. But at the same time, it's slowly gone downhill. So anyway, that's my roundabout way of saying that however, whether you played video games, the trading cards, or the cartoon show, that determines how you see certain Pokemon and how you determine them. Rembo is a giant Pokemon guy. You've played more video games than I have. I'd say you're the expert of us. I'm a big I would say I'm a big consumer of Generation 1 and the original show, but I'm not that familiar with things that came after it. Jason, you have done nothing but chagrin and complain, despite the fact that you are our aficionado when it comes to all things anime. You're the first person to wave your hands and be like, Pokemon's not an anime, it's American propaganda, it's not the original. So this is going to be a very interesting diversity of opinion we've got going on here. So the question of the day is, who's your favorite Pokemon? Who's the best Pokemon? You can combine that and just which Pokemon stands out to you and why. And I'm very curious as to how you got to that conclusion. So let's start with Rembo, our Pokemon guy. Remy, your familiarity with the franchise extends to, like, at this point, how many video games and how far into the cartoon show and all that stuff?
I've watched all of the Indigo series. I've watched a lot of the movies. I mean, I watched the Jirachi movie, the Celebi movie, the Deoxys movie, the Pokemon 2000, that's number 2. Obviously, the original Pokemon 3 with Entei. I've seen a lot of Pokemon movies, and so I really enjoy the movies a little bit more than the show once it got past like Silver and Gold. I watched a little bit of X and Y, but I wasn't super into that. But as far as video games go, I mean, I've played Generation 1, so I played Red and Blue, I played Fire Red, Leaf Green, Gold and Silver, Heart Gold and Soul Silver. I've played X and Y, Black and White, Diamond and Pearl. I'm actively playing 2 different games right now for Pokemon. One of them is called Ultraviolet, which I really like, which is a Fire Red ROM hack. But yeah, and this to say, yes, I am a big Pokemon guy. It's one of my favorite franchises. I think it's at its best, it's one of the best video games that you can ever play.
Jason, you, despite the fact that you shrugged your shoulders, you have to have some affinity. You are too into anime, you're too into that, or is this just one of those, like, you just don't like the stench of Americana on Pokemon?
No, definitely not, because I attribute that anime or that show, because no, I classify it as anime, but introducing anime to so many kids. I mean, that's a lot of people's first anime, and so I definitely consider that in that category, and as a great precursor to future anime watchers. But yeah, there's a crazy thing about Pokemon is there's 3 ways to get into it: video games, anime, or cards, and you have so many different people introduced to the product that way. It was game for me, was the first thing, and it was fantastic, the first game and whatnot. But you started to see other games and other game franchises like that evolving and changing. I mean, just anything like Mario, how much that changed from the original Nintendo, Super Nintendo to Mario 64. So then you start saying, I want to see Mario in 3D. The games never went up like that. It was this slow crawl to get to where they're at, and they're still not even at the level of a open world Tears of the Kingdom version where they should be. That franchise should be just as popular as Zelda and be able to do the same things that Mario and Link are doing right now, but they're not. And I think that was the most disappointing thing for the past 30 years of this franchise, is this so slow crawl to where what we all wanted it to be. So definitely lost interest very early on as far as the game aspect of it. Never dealt with the cards, and then little anime sprinkled throughout there. But honestly, it's probably the Detective Pikachu movie is probably one of the best things that I've seen out of it, and since me playing Red or Blue. Like, I had a fantastic time watching that movie, because that's what I felt like what we all wanted out of Pokemon this whole time.
The introduction of Pokemon to me was, I remember as a child thinking Pokemon on television looked stupid, and I'm like, oh, this is dumb, and what is this, stupid, and then I got hooked. There was like a marathon going on, and then I got hooked on the cartoon. Got the trading cards, fell into the whole trading cards thing, and we all did as a family. Like, all of us were into it. And then eventually you'd go to I'd go to a friend's house, and he would have like Pokemon Blue or Red, and then immediately that was like crack. Just, oh my God, this is amazing. What is this? And then eventually we got Pokemon Blue, and it was just an incredible thing of the experience of Pokemon, of capturing Pokemon, going into battles. But then it is interesting the differences of the characters, the Pokemon characters, from the cards to the game to the show. And for example, and we can start our who's your favorite Pokemon from here. Pikachu is clearly the most popular. Front and center in the cartoon show. He walks by Ash side by side. He is the charismatic yellow electric rodent that he is. But I remember the first card I had of Pikachu, like back in the 90s, was he is a...
Who's the real fan? I don't know. There we go. Flex that. There we go. Okay.
I would have preferred you to set him up prior to all this, but nevertheless, better late than never, Jason. Pikachu in the cards. All right.
You can keep talking. What? Please continue.
The first card I had of Pikachu in the original run of the trading cards in America, he is a fat, obese, gross-looking rat. Remy, do you remember what he looks like? Yeah.
No, I know exactly what card you're referencing. He's not even yellow. He's like an off orange sort of color, more like Raichu. And yeah, he's like, looks like he's like stomping through a forest. Like, it looks off.
You would never be like, that's the face of the franchise right there. Like, that's like a training camp backup defensive tackle that's going to get cut before the season starts. Like, no way would you be like, that's the guy. So if you play the trading cards, you want to be like, Pikachu's the coolest. But if you watch the show,
I
maybe
think
that would be
Japan,
your take.
it was Squirtle Blastoise, I think, was the face of the franchise when it first started, and I think they pivoted to Pikachu at some point. I think because it was Pokemon Green was actually the first one to come out. I don't know who was on Green though, or if that was
That would have been in
Bulbasaur.
Bulbasaur.
Yeah, but then
Ivysaur. I mean, Venusaur.
yeah. So if that was yeah, because Pikachu that was the third iteration. He wasn't even supposed to be the franchise mascot.
So Rembo, you have all of this Poke knowledge to pull from. What is your process? What is your thought behind who's your favorite Pokemon and who is, in fact, your favorite Pokemon?
It's multi-layered because it's like if I'm looking at it just based off of like, oh, like if you look at it just based off of the show, that's gonna be wild. Like and like the Pokemon that you meet in the show, especially in the original in the original run, their personalities play a big factor into like how you like them. Like Pikachu has a really strong personality. Not Bulbasaur as much, but like Squirtle has a really funny, big personality. Meowth, obviously. So it's like these random Pokemon, but like I would never fucking in a million years give a shit about Meowth from a game standpoint or from like a totality of who the character is. So I kind of my process is character design is huge. You gotta like just visual. How does the character look? What type the character is. There's better types and lamer types, like their moveset and like within the game, what moves can they learn, because that's really important to what a cool Pokemon is. So I think of all these kind of different aspects of it when I'm thinking about who my favorite are.
Pardon the technical difficulties, but the show must go on. Remy, please continue your thoughts on your favorite Pokemon.
But my favorite Pokemon is Haunter. Haunter is dope for a bunch of reasons. A, great color. Purple. Purple's a great color. He's ghost type. The idea of a ghost type Pokemon inherently is sick. But he has a really sweet moveset. Any like, obviously we have the Hypnosis, Dream Eater, Shadow Ball, like really cool moveset. Very useful as a starting Pokemon. But the design and the personality of the character. He's got the big crazy eyes, the big crazy mouth, the floating hands, and there's the sharp edges of his design. I think is just makes for an entire complete dope ass Pokemon. And I do have a plan of getting a Ghastly, Haunter, Gengar trifecta tattoo on my quad. That later, but. Number one Pokemon. If I have to pick one Pokemon from the 151, it's Haunter. Gengar's cool too, but Haunter's the man.
Favorite single Pokemon? Because so the game is based, you're not supposed to have a single favorite, because they will be weak against something. So it's even if you try to go through the whole game with a fire type, there will be some sort of team that's going to absolutely destroy you. So the best thing was having a well-rounded team. So it was always, to me, is like, okay, what was favorite fire? What was favorite water? What was favorite, fighting or whatever, all the psychic stuff. And you're right, you always tend to lean towards the psychic ones because you felt like those were like a little more well-rounded. So I'm not as good as you, Remy, with the names. With the spoon bending guy, I remember him being like, what was that? The Kubota? Like Alakazam. Like I remember him being on my first team, being like getting him the first couple times, like the psychic ones, and being like super stoked. But honestly, when I was looking through these, and this is like as a kid, what was my favorite? Because right now I don't know what my favorite is, but it was the whole Gyarados, the whole Magikarp being able to be Gyarados. Like I thought that was the coolest shit ever, and I feel like a lot of the animes and movies and stuff really hype on that too, of like this tiny little carp becoming this massive dragon. And so I remember that one putting so much work and almost having like a full team of Gyarados and having like, oh my god, I gotta like what's it called where you just level up like constantly, where you have to like just the term where you just hardcore level something over and over and over again. Anyways, to get your Gyarados stuff. So I think like he was up there for me. And it's funny that you talk shit about the bug Pokemon because I feel like that was some of my favorites when I first started playing, and I wanted all these bug stuff. But then figuring how absolutely weak they were later on and being like, shit, I put in all that effort to get this Pokemon up to level 70, and he still sucks. I'm just trying to quickly look through the list. I remember Vulpix being cool, just because of Naruto and the Nine Tails and stuff like that. You saw that like kind of correlation between those two. Yeah, Mew always up there too. I can see why you say the ghost stuff was cool. I did like those as a kid as well too. And yeah, it's easy to go onto the legendary ones, like that. Those were all like some of the cool ones. So now, honestly, now that I see it, the dragon type ones were Dratini, Dragonites, yeah, all those one, Dragonair, and then the Gyarados stuff. I think, yeah, I gravitated towards those. I feel like as a kid.
Fun fact: Gyarados is not actually a dragon type. He is water flying.
Interesting.
Which makes no sense at all. And it was one of the most odd choices. But yeah, so in the original game, there's a lot of Pokemon that are only like you only have one set. Like in the original game, Ghastly, Haunter, Gengar are the only ghost types in the whole game. And the same with Dragonite, Dragonair, and Dratini. They're the only dragon types in the whole game. It's like there's a lot of like Pokemon that were only like the only type, or they were their only type, and then they expand on that later, obviously. But
when it comes to the original show, I'm partial to certain Pokemon just because of the episode they were in and what they did. I love Golem. When Golem, and it's Golem Tackle Attack. It sounds so cool in that episode. Like, Tackle is just the most basic. Every Pokemon has Tackle. But in that episode, when Golem just rolls over fools, and it's Tackle Attack now. I love Golem. I've always had a soft spot for Golem just because of that. And Machamp. The design of Machamp, six arms, just wrecking fools. The championship belt. I love that. And I'm very partial. I love James and all of James's Pokemon. Big Vaporeon fan. I would say as far as cartoon goes, the design, and I love Vaporeon as a Pokemon. But I am gonna be a bit of a plebe here. My favorite is Mewtwo. Mewtwo is so sick in every different iteration, whether it's the show, the cards, the video games, or Super Smash Bros. I mean, Mewtwo is super sick in that. I love, first of all, big fan of big hips and big quads. So immediately,
bonk, Mewtwo bonk.
Hey. If anything there was anime was built on, it was on bonks. Okay? Let's just say that right now. Anyway, big fan of Mewtwo. But also just in the 2000 Pokemon movie, which I saw in theaters and cried my eyes out as a child, just the damaged science experiment just cast out that Mewtwo was. Just, it is very Magneto-esque. It's very reminiscent of other characters, but the pure rage and mission, also like Ultron, is such an interesting, deep character. It's not just, no offense to people that love Pikachu. I love Pikachu. But Pikachu just being the character that like hops along and is like Pika Pika and has, sass and all that. Like, that's cool. But Mewtwo is just so interesting, especially because they teased it throughout the show for a while of like, the caged Pokemon in the Bacta tank, if as it were. I love Mewtwo and the powers, obviously godlike powers, amazing Pokemon, and is my favorite of the lot.
I love that call. Yeah, it is. It is really cool when you go back, if you like watch the show and then if you watch the show like the first season of Indigo and then you watch the movie right after, it is cool because you get the teasing of Giovanni's Pokemon super powerful, fucking Rex Gary, and like nobody can deal with him. And it's like this big like mysterious Pokemon. Gary famously quotes him as being like he's felt like he feels evil, like, and he's just like, I don't know, there could be an evil Pokemon. And so it's like you get the whole backstory kind of like building, and then the movie is just fucking electric. His how they like detail his character of being, and I literally just watched the movie like a week ago, so this is apropos, but
Fresh.
yeah, his like kind of figure, like him coming to life is really interesting, and in a I don't want to overuse the term AI, but in like something becoming sentient, like he wakes up and then he has like mixed memories of like what he has memories from Mew and that like aren't his real memories, but he has them because he's a clone. And then he's like starting to like question he like very quickly questions his existence. Then he just gets super pissed because he's just like, you fucking just made me to be your experiment. Awesome character. The whole backstory is fucking sick. His voice acting is dope. Yeah, Mewtwo's awesome.
Bonus, is there a favorite Pokemon? I don't even know how to say expression. You know, every Pokemon in the show says their name, or most Pokemon, not all. Most say their name. Is there a favorite Pokemon expression where they say their name or something when they speak? Is there a favorite speech of Pokemon? Jason, are you familiar enough with Pokemon that one comes to mind of the way you like a Pokemon when they speak?
I mean, Mouth is the only one who can actually speak, though, right? Everyone else just gibbers on about their name.
Yeah,
like,
but
over
see
and over
that's
again.
that's the Pokemon hatred I'm trying to get out of this. Is that it doesn't matter. Like it's like a foreign language. When Pika goes Pika
Squirtle.
Pikachu.
when Pika goes Pika
Squirtle.
Pika,
Squirtle.
like that.
Squirtle. Like
No,
Squirtle.
see that's
Squirtle.
and you've lost the point, Jason. It's not Squirtle. It's Squirtle. Like there's like a lot of character in the way Squirtle speaks. You've lost it. You don't understand
No, I
Pokemon. Go back
understand that
to your little
Squirtle with the
mangas
sun.
where you
Yeah.
can just make up whatever sound they make in your own head, Jason.
Yes,
God
I understand
damn
the
it.
Squirtle with the sunglasses has a different voice than the Squirtle without sunglasses.
Squirtle,
I picked up
Squirtle,
those
Squirtle.
small
Come on.
nuances. Yeah. My answer is no. They all speak the same thing.
I'm so
my God.
disappointed, but like I don't even know how I could be disappointed when I expected this.
The fact that Jason, the audacity of Jason to try and shit on Pokemon, the most worldwide established anime of all time, the fact that you can't even have a little bit of fucking respect.
I feel like that is the laziest fucking writing you could ever do. Let's
Oh!
not actually have
Oh!
writing for these animals. Let's just have them speak their name over and over again.
Oh,
and
it's
act like
lazy,
that's
Jason.
conversation.
What is it not lazy when every single anime you watch where they get into a fight, every character, whether they're small, big, that's every anime fight of all time in every anime you've ever watched of every episode. Don't come to me and talk to me how Pika Pika is lazy or Squirtle's not cool. Take it back. I want an apology. I'll take it now.
Never. That's no excuse for the lazy writing. We're talking about fighting scenes. Fighting scenes in the Pokemon are great, and the fighting scenes in anime are great. Lazy writing by having your Squirtle just say its name over and over again rather than actually writing what it's speaking. Or
Okay,
we're a
so-
translator of Meowth
so-
the entire time. Like, Jesus Christ.
Is
And
it
was.
lazy
Wait,
writing?
it was 100% probably that they didn't have the funding for acting or all the voice acting for all of that. So this was
Okay, hold
in
on,
fact
Jason.
done lazily. Because the
Jason,
video
wait.
games, they don't speak their name over
Jason,
and over again.
is
The
it
card
lazy
game, they don't speak
writing?
their name over and over again.
Is it lazy writing if you have a dog in your movie or show and the dog just goes, oh, 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 oh,
What's that, boy? What's that? He's stuck in the well. That you have that one person that can. That's all they're doing in this show is the one person that actually can understand what that barking is, rather than writing what that barking is. It's no. There's no argument here. This
Yes,
was
there is.
100% done. out of laziness.
Chewbacca just makes variations of the same growl. What are we talking about here? And that's
That
great.
was not
And I love
done out of
Chewbacca.
laziness.
Why
That
are
was
you
out of
hating on
greatness.
Chewbacca? Take it back. You're a Wookiee hater. Hate it.
Don't call me that. That's a low blow. Right there.
You're
Don't call me
specious.
that.
Jason, admit it. You're specious.
Mav, you crossed the line. How dare
Yeah,
you?
the Wookiee hating. Yeah, no.
All right, well, fuck Jason, but I personally,
You knew what you were getting into when you brought up this horrible subject for us to rant about.
Mr. Anime hates the subject about animes. I'm sorry I picked the one anime people like that you don't.
same. All right, Jason, we're never covering anime ever again. All right, there.
All right,
you
there.
happy?
Oh, wait,
You happy,
fine.
Jason?
You got
Bend
me,
my
guys.
arm, Jason.
All right, fine. I'll give you guys the opinion that you want out of me, so we can review anime in the future. That what you want? That's what you want to hear? Yes, I love hearing Squirtle, 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 Squirtle,
Again,
Squirtle, Squirtle,
you've lost the
Squirtle.
point so hard.
And
Remy,
then me trying to
please
figure out
talk
what
to
he's
me.
trying to come across. Yeah.
Jason, how do you feel about
I'll turn it
this?
up a little more. I can't hear it. Yes, that I can hear it. Yeah.
Okay. I really I really like the voice and sound design of Alakazam, who Jason alluded to earlier. He has a deep kind of Kazam sort of sound to him, and just a cool character in general. Having like like a psychic. I'm trying to think of the exact sorcerer Pokemon. I think is dope, and yeah, I really like the way that he says his name is really cool. Him or maybe Kangaskhan. Kangaskhan has a really cool. I think he says like Kangaskhan kind of. I think that's how that sounds in my head. I'll splice it in here, but I like those two.
I'm very partial to Kingler in the anime when Krabby when Ash goes to the tournament and Krabby fights and wins and he turns into Kingler and Kingler does not say his name. He goes Koki. He's very he's just kicking ass and dominating and it's constantly like Kingler do this Koki. It's very like I'm going to win this fight. I love it. It's great and not his name, Jason. Very diverse. And if you think Koki is the same as Koki, you are wrong.
That's great. They got the Cookie Monster to voice act into the in Pokemon. Yeah, you guys are not selling it. I'm sitting here just like really.
Jason, all this does is just
Cookie
confirm.
over and over again. Had great voice acting. You could hear it.
All this does is confirm what I've always believed, and that is Jason is an uncultured anime swine.
Okay. All right.
What's worse than that, he's a purist. Nothing worse than an anime purist. Gatekeeper, if I do say so myself.
Yeah.
I got nothing else to hate on this. I'm not going to give any more of my hate. I don't deserve it. Yeah, I've hated enough.
Well, you can.
Then real quick, Mav and I will go back on what is just give it like we can go back and forth. One most underrated.
Underrated Pokemon?
Yeah, underrated 151, the most underrated.
The lovely Monica Bryan, I asked her what her favorite Pokemon was, and I think this qualifies as an underrated Pokemon, which would be Cubone. Cubone, not only a great design, but also a great backstory. Wears the skull of his dead mother. The lonely Pokemon has his bone and wanders about the land. Great Pokemon. Love it. Love Cubone. And Marowak is also a dope design. Much more menacing, sinister within his own. Looks stronger and tougher.
I agree. I think my maybe my most underrated or favorite underrated of the original 151 is God. There's like three that stand out in mind, but if I just want to pick one, I'm gonna go Golduck. I like Golduck's design, a significant level up from the stupid, dumb-looking Psyduck. Psyduck's super lame, but Golduck is sick. Obviously a water type that can learn psychic moves. I don't know if he ever becomes an official dual type water psychic later, but I think Golduck is a dope Pokemon.
Oh, also great Pokemon sound would be am I gonna mess the name up? Arbok?
Oh, Arbok.
Arbok? Also a great sound, Jason. I hope you've been taking notes. Jason's so done. And that's last page.